Teachers of Reddit, what clicked about a pupil after meeting their parents? Not a teacher, but I do volunteer work for a program designed to help students who are habitually truant. Had one middle schooler who was super bright, genuinely seemed to love school, got great grades, but was absent about half the time. He was very evasive about why he wasn't coming to class, and I honestly didn't put him high on my list, because he was doing fine even with the missed days. When I was finally able to get a social worker to go by his house, it turned out his single mother was having seizures and didn't have any healthcare, so she couldn't get treatment for them, and the kid was staying home to take care of both her and his younger brother. I felt just terrible for the kid having to be so adult while still in middle school. Whoa, that sounds like an awful situation and I feel terrible for that child. But what a freaking rock star, especially since he stayed up with the school work. Amazing. Whoa, he probably enjoyed school so much because it was a break from those adult responsibilities and because he realized that he could potentially get a job with healthcare. So rough for him. Hopefully his mother and him are better now. College freshman was constantly late, didn't turn work in on time or at all, etc. She had an excuse for every single thing. I wasn't even asking. She just volunteered excuses. After getting a D in my class, which was frankly a bit generous as her actual grade was a high F, her mother called me. I wasn't allowed to discuss a student's performance with anyone, including their parents, and I told her as much. Her mother then, unprompted, gave me a long string of excuses for her daughter and, oddly, herself. I kind of thought, oh, that makes sense now. Her mother called me, and her kid is at college university level. What the frick? It's more common than you think, unfortunately. I think college professors are the ones who pushed for that rule of not sharing grades, and I don't blame them. I notice quite a few negative stories here. Well, here is a positive one where it clicked. I have a student who is really friendly, really smart, and amazing at English. I am an ESL teacher abroad. She is always really friendly to me and always really hardworking. She constantly helps other kids in class who struggle with the material and overall just a great girl. I met her dad once at a school event and holy goodness was this guy awesome. He was a really genuine and generous character and even invited me to get to know different parts of the city with his family. I could definitely tell they had a close bond and that he had raised her really well. Just an example of good people raising other good people. I've had a few like that. One kid, sweetest kid alive. He was like what you imagine an actual 4th grader to be like. He was pretty much like a curious puppy. Flip side, he had a solid 13% in the class. He just couldn't figure out how to put two numbers together. I actually cried when he learned to cross multiply and see the wheels turn in his head. Thing is, compared to a lot of kids, he had lots of reasons to act out and be violent and could be a jokester with friends. He could lash out, but never did compared to other classmates. Met his parents. Little salt of the earth types. Dad was older and kinda had that old spun country wisdom to him. Told me that they've been trying hard with him, but he just seems to not click right. Like read 8 hours a day with him and nothing coming right. What I also noticed is that they were patient as all living hell, and so was he. I wish we had non-behavioral special ed, because he needed it bad. Still got him to cross multiply. Then there were a few others that their parents were excited to meet me, and you could see how involved they were with their kids and how they appreciated the help. I always loved parents like that, because it really did feel like if they told their parents about you in such a positive way, you had to be making a difference. These are the kind of people that we should be investing in as much as possible, because they are probably more likely to use their success in life compassionately. This is from back when I was doing my student teaching. There was a girl in one of my classes that never did any work in class, turned in her homework late, and would ignore huge projects until literally the last minute and then ask to come in for help every day at lunch, after school to make up for the missing work. Eventually I caught her cheating on a quiz. She had written down the answers, put them in the plastic cover of her binder, and put her binder down by her feet. I took her quiz, gave her a 0, and told her that cheating wasn't allowed. About a week later, we had parent-teacher conferences. The girl came with her mother, who took out every assignment that had been graded and handed back, and proceeded to argue with me over individual points. Things along the lines of, well, she spelled it all right, so that deserves some credit, right? Or she circled the right answer, so she should still get some credit, when that right answer had been crossed off and then another answer had been selected. This took nearly an hour to go through. Finally, the mother brought up the quiz, and I told her about the cheating. The mum said, well, you should give her some credit on it. She was pretty clever to think of that trick. From then on, I made sure to schedule meetings with myself, my mentor teacher, and the principal present. Clearly it wasn't that clever, since she got caught. To somebody who is kind of dumb, it seems clever. I was telling the parent that their child was generally inattentive. He would look around, fidget, and just nod along smiling when I knew he hadn't been listening. As I was consulting my notes, I looked up to see the parent looking around the room, bouncing their leg. As soon as they realized that I was done talking, they nodded and smiled. They say there is a genetic component to ADD. 71% heritable. To bring that into context, height is 81% heritable. MMHMM. This girl in prep already showed traits of a narcissist, sociopath. She was an extremely clever, but lacked empathy, manipulative, blatantly lied, stole, and so on. Yes, this might just sound like characteristics of any child, but there was definitely something different about her. Anyway, met a mum who refused to accept that her child would do anything wrong, and when the child admitted she stole a girl's bracelet because she wanted it, her mum said, that's okay, we can go buy you one on the way home. Had the exact same experience. I've taught students that were jerks, but you could see a reason or get to the bottom of it. But the student that still scares me to this day is the one that was physically and emotionally hurting people because she wanted to see people hurt. That always got me. Parents never really blamed her for anything. My 5th grade teacher said she understood why at times I couldn't finish my homework or fall asleep in class after seeing my mother had cancer. I'm sure before that she thought I was lazy. She became super close with my mum after, and the day my mum passed away, still in 5th grade, she cried in class when they messaged her, and that's how I knew it was over. I personally believe teachers make a huge impact in a child's life, and she really helped me out and understood. I had a teacher exactly like this in high school. My dad had colon cancer and had an allergic reaction to the staples that were used in the surgery to patch him up. This caused him to have sepsis that went undiscovered for a few hours. When the nurses realized the danger my dad was in, it was almost too late. It took him forever to recover, and during that time period I had to help him with almost everything. I was a junior in high school and couldn't juggle school and assisting my father. My grades started to drop and I became distant. However, my English teacher knew what was going on and helped me through the tough times. She encouraged me and helped me get my grades up. I remember once I had had a particularly rough night and had fallen asleep in her class. Instead of waking me up, she made the class quiet down and just read the entire period. I still tear up thinking about it. Best teacher I ever had. I'm very thankful that you had her as a teacher during that time. I can't even begin to fathom the pain you went through then. I'm so thankful for these stories of teachers who actually care. I know it's been a while, but I'm sorry for your loss. Kid named Rowdy. Super nice kindergartner. Wondered why the hell his name was Rowdy. Met his mom. Dad was Mia. Lived with grandma in a hoarder house and they smoked inside with the window closed. He graduated last spring. Saw him walking in the rain at 9 AM. Not sure where he was headed, but all I could think was he was headed in the wrong direction. That's so sad. You know his circumstances are not set up to support him well. To see someone who you think, if I could just change something, but you can't. I know we all love a great underdog story where the kid with the world against him succeeds against all odds, but that doesn't happen as often in real life. People with these great success stories where they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps are the few percent that was able to. For one of those success stories, there's probably hundreds more where the person didn't succeed. My teachers used to show up to court cases to support me. They tolerated a lot of behavior that they didn't have to. I lived in my guidance counselor's house when my dad was in jail and got my first pair of glasses from her. My gym teacher looked the other way when I showered at school in the mornings when we didn't have running water at home. Despite great test scores, I almost didn't graduate high school because of the tumultuous life I lived, and when my parents died not long after high school, I heard from nearly all of them, asking how I was doing. I wouldn't have made it without them. They were amazing people.